We are live on the Virtual Grip Network, and it's time to fire up the brick ovens because we're in the home of the deep dish pizza for week 19 of the OBRL YesterYear Racing Cup Series. YesterYear, where past meets present. I'm Zach Chapman, a.k.a. Shaggy, along with my partner in crime, John Hine, and we're lucky enough to have the heartbeat of EGN, the absolute best, bringing all the sights and sounds, the one and only Ryan Seneca. Last week, the OBRL had a duel in Georgia that saw only 7 cars finish on the lead lap. But out of the chaos came a new winner in the form of James Hislop. Hislop took his old tires and held off the trash man Daniel Hill to cement himself into the OBRL playoffs with the 8 races remaining. We also saw a driver who was taking advantage of every chance to get a bonus point and now finds himself 10 points out of 16th after Alan Wanamaker scores his first top 5. Will we see another first-time winner, or will we see our regulars return to the top as we head into the Chicago street course and force drivers to race the track and maintain patience as we're about to go 35 laps around the fountain? Now, John, road racing was never really a big part of NASCAR when I was a kid, man. We only had Sonoma and Watkins Glen, but in the last couple of years, we've seen it more than double, as now we have 5 on the schedule, including 1 in the playoffs. Are there things that drivers have to do differently here when we come into a road course that they can't do at an oval? Or can we attack this place the same way as, per se, we did Atlanta last week? What are your thoughts?
Well, I got to start by just going, Chicago's famous for, the Bears. They got the Cubs. Tonight, they're going to have the OBRL, so this is going to be a lot of fun here. This is a challenging track. Things you do different, everything. You've got to have more patience. You have got to hit your marks. You've got to race the track more than anywhere that you're going to go, because one false move, there's just not any room to have a little bit of runoff or to save the car. If you mess up, lock your brakes, you're probably in the wall. And thankfully, they do got 1 repair here this week, which is different than weeks in the past. But you only get 1, and the walls are pretty close, Zach.
No, and I think, that having that quick repair is nice, John, but something a little different, too. No full course caution, I don't believe. So if you get enough damage to need to use that quick repair, well, you better be quick about getting in the pits, because it's going to be a long way to get around this place if you've got some damage. But let's pull up the points, man. Let's take a look at how close the battle is. So you heard me mention there in the intro a little Alan Wanamaker, 10 points out, but John right behind him, Darrell Weininger 2 points down. Greg McDaniel 5 points down. I mean, we got 3 guys right there that when we leave tonight, I mean, we could the points could look a lot different next week.
Well, they could. And, we've got other first-time winners that could happen here. I mean, Wanamaker and Darrell Weininger currently are in your top 10 here, practice speeds. But, you look at it, Luke Lane and Lloyd Moore, I mean, we're talking to the guys to the bad, but these 2 guys are on the positive side. They need to just survive tonight. Get out, get as many points as you can here. If they're good at road racing, you might want to try to capitalize on it. But we were talking about wild card last week. These road cases are wild cards too. You could see somebody from that right-hand side of that's the points there leapfrog themselves and get themselves to where their names are yellow and lock themselves in the playoffs.
Yeah, and like I mentioned there, with no full course cautions, all it takes is one little hiccup. You're out front, and it's all gone, and there's somebody else can sweep in and take it over. But we still got a little bit of time left here in qualifying. So, John, I know you mentioned you're a big fan of Chicago.
Love
you
Chicago.
used to live close to here. I mean, if you could come back, if you were here right now, where would we have to go out to eat, man?
Oh, you know what? We'd have to go get a good pie. We'd have to go down to Lula Melenti's. That's where I would recommend everybody going down here. Get some deep dish Chicago style pizza. Great place to eat. Bubba Gumps out there is out at Navy Pier. Good place to eat too. Harry Carey's. boy, me tough one, but I'll go with the pie there at Louisville Malenti's.
Yeah, nothing wrong with a good pie. And I think, well, they maybe thought everybody was done. So I thought it was going to be a little bit for qualifying, but they actually advanced it themselves. So, John, here we got a starting grid, and it looks like row number 1 is going to be Andrew Kotska. To the outside, Courtney Nelson.
Dan Hill is going to start third. To his outside, Christian Lotion.
Daryl Weininger lines up on the inside of row 3 to the top shelf, Michael Watts.
Jerry Isaacs and Alan Wanamaker start row 4.
Row 5 to the inside, Roger Hurley. To the top shelf, Tom Ogle.
Josh Robinson and Sean Foltz, they occupy row number 6.
Torrance Childs lines up on the inside of row 7 to the top shelf, Greg Hammond.
And the last one to take time, starting 15th, will be Patrick Martindale. First car without a time will be the 104 of Andrew Medlin.
Yeah, interesting point there, John. The rest of the guys think here just trying to survive is row 9, Dwayne MacArthur lines up on the inside. To the outside, Chris Bates.
Tommy Amassi is going to start 19th. Last week's winner, James Hislop, starts 20th.
Victor Lane lines up on the inside of row 11 to the top shelf, Robert Gorisco.
Mark Fish and Chris Hazlip will start 20. Well, actually, it looks like Mark Fish and Luke Lane, I think, are 23rd, 24th.
And then Nicholas Self and Chris Hazlip here round out the field. Only 26 guys. Still a good showing here for the road course. And I think, a lot of the guys here are hoping, John, for what you kind of spoke of, what happened last week. Maybe a wrench to get thrown out there, man. Just be a wild card.
Yeah, and we should also mention there are a couple of penalties here tonight. Robert Gorisco and Luke Lane were both given EOLs here to start this race. So both those guys, Luke was already back there, so both those guys will fall back to the back here.
Yeah, and interesting to note here too, John, I'm looking at my cheating broadcast software. No Josh Robinson, no Chris Pate on the grid. Yes, they're sitting in pit road. So
not a bad idea, because, if something goes south on this first lap, and anybody who watched the Cup race today knows something goes wrong, track gets blocked in the blink of an eye, and you've got nowhere to go. So might be not a bad idea, just being out and not having to worry about anything.
No, and truthfully, I'm not ashamed to admit it, John. We've seen it work for us in GT3 races, starting from the pits, maybe missing the AM. So it can go good. It can sometimes go bad, but normally if you feel like you race your way up there, it goes good more times than not. Get ready to go here soon, John.
Yeah, I think when these guys start, I think from the pits, my guess is if they can just keep it clean, keep it off the walls, they're going to get a decent finish. I think there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to find some trouble.
As the pace car dives off, the green flag is high, and it is set to fly. We've got 35 laps to go play in the street here in Chicago. Let's see what turn 1 looks like. Courtney Nelson thought about driving it deep on that top shelf, but Andrew Kotska, too good on the bottom, John. Battle for the lead over just like that. I think Courtney knows this is a long way to go. Doesn't have to force the issue just yet.
No, and they did a great job, because when I was practicing, turn 1 was my nemesis. I found that outside wall a whole lot coming down there, so those guys did a really good job getting through there and giving each other room, because really these first couple laps, keeping the car between the walls is important, but right behind and probably the level of importance, they got to give each other room.
And Christian Lushin almost tried that pass for third there on Daniel Hill, but thought best of it. Maybe messed up his corner exit here, and now we see, oh man, guy sending it in deep here. Mike Watts right there on your screen. He had a big send going in there on the left-hander, and John, he made up a lot of time, and kind of reminds me, I know some guys, going to take it easy here first lap, but we mentioned SVG during the Cup race today, the way he could just kind of drive it in there. I feel like that's what we were seeing from Mike. Maybe pretty comfortable in the race car, and feels like he can drive it in deep.
Yeah, and keep in mind, too, these guys are also dealing with that new tire model and everything on this car, so you know what, they're going to have to race a lap or two. And it makes a big difference between that first out lap, even that second lap. to that third, fourth lap, it's 90-day difference how the car feels and actually the grip level you have.
Look at Luke Lane, or Crisco finally slips up, gets in the outside wall. They were side by side through, I want to say, 3 sets of corners. And now Luke Lane going to pass his pops here. The boss man not going to make it hard. He's going to get one more. Taking it easy here, John. You can see him sticking to the outside there. That black machine, he's just going to let those two go. Maybe realizes they have some pace. And John, at a track like this, more so than any other oval we go to, they highlighted it perfect in the Cup race today. It's not worth battling that guy. You're going to lose too much time on the track. Can you kind of explain that to the guys out there?
Yeah, when you battle somebody, it slows both of you down inevitably, and you know, a 10th here in this corner, stuff like that. It allows the guy in front of you to kind of get away, or someone behind you to pull up and start challenging, turn a 2-car battle into a 3-car battle. So here, you know what? Make the move quickly, but if you can't do it, you know, you kind of got to figure out where you can outbrake them and things like that. So the passing, I want to almost say, in a weird way, it happens quicker here than it will on an oval.
And you really, you know, kind of to go on what you mentioned, it's just so precise. You're kind of setting the guy up for so long compared to an oval where maybe you got a couple spots to pass there. As we see Mike Watts go to the outside. He gets another one done in that Bojangles machine. He's trying to come up to the back here of Lushin. Mike Watts up a spot here, but we do have somebody on the move here, John. Not easy to pass. And I want to say in 3 laps, man, James Hislop, 8 spots, won his first race last week. You talk about riding a wave, man. 8 guys in 2 laps at a road course, that's impressive.
Yeah, well, you know, when you get the big mo going, you got to feel pretty good about yourself, and the confidence, especially for race car drivers, confidence is huge.
I don't know if this software will allow Ryan. There we go. We're on the same page. This is a shot and a half from Sean Foltz. He had to tow this thing, and luckily for him, he's got the quick repair. That was, and John, you know, I mentioned about it being slow getting around. That is probably the worst spot to wreck. If you're not going to tow that thing, you've got to drive the whole way around the racetrack.
Yeah, and that shot right there that you just saw, boy, you can see their rotors already glowing. Now, Ryan, I don't know if you get a shot of their rotors as they go in there, but you can see it. Those guys are really working those brakes over here.
Yeah, and, you know, John, I mean, iRacing, they've done such a good job. You got to think, I mean, that's just using that much brake, that's going to heat up your tires that much faster, right?
Oh, yeah. And, you know, but, you know, brakes aren't what they used to be. You know, you used to hear way back in the 80s and 90s talk about keeping track of your brakes. But these carbon fiber brakes of today, you can go. Green flag goes, you can go. Very rarely. Some, on occasion, if there's a part that it's going to be the rotor, you'll see a rotor give up. But those are exceedingly rare these days. Now, John, iRacing, I don't even think they exist in iRacing, so...
I would think, you know, you and I, we both, we're F1 fans. We like the strategy over there in F1. And obviously, even if you could make it from here, I think it's a little too early for Courtney Nelson just because of the traffic you kind of pick yourself up in. But is there a point, maybe you develop a big enough gap? Do you try to short pit if you think you're faster than Kotska? Because obviously, Andrew, man, it's been a while since we've seen him on the racetrack. He had a couple weeks off, but all those wins, he can take it off, but he's hungry for a win. Not going to be easy to pass. Do you use strategy?
You know, it depends on what your situation is. You know, how close you are. You know, are you gaining on the guy? You think, hey, if I get back. The problem is now the field has got strung out by short pitting. You can get caught up behind somebody that's incredibly slow. And we've had word that defending champion Josh Robinson's run into some problems. He's on the screen now. Oh, and it looked like he just got onto the brakes too hard, and the car snapped on him and into the wall there.
Yeah, and I mean, John, you know, that's something maybe the oval guys not necessarily used to that, you know, maybe I have more experience with than most, spinning out under braking. When you're road course racing, can you kind of explain to the people out there, I'm not so good at it. I can kind of drive it, but, man, it's a big no-no. You don't want to be turning that car when you're on the brakes.
No, you want to have your wheels straight and brake, and then almost release your brake when you decide to turn. That's the ideal way to do it. If you've got the car, another one around there, Patrick Martindale.
Right in front of Luke Lane, too. Wow.
Yeah, but, if you're slow enough and you've got the right angle, you can kind of, trail brake it through the corner. But if you are actually trying to slow the car down, like actually roll it up and got the wheel turned, yeah, the back end's going to swap around on you pretty quick a lot of the time.
Courtney Nelson, John, caught the wall pretty hard here with this left front. Something's broken on that thing. It is bouncing up and down. You can really see it. And he is going to need to maybe do that short pit now. I haven't had the experience. Can we go 30 laps on a tank of gas, or is he going to have to pit again?
No idea. But let's see if he pulls her down, and here he comes. Yeah, that means he's feeling that big time behind the wheel.
Yeah, Courtney, from my pit road view that I'm kind of looking at, you can see that right front sunk down. It is just not driving the way it should. Not the time you want to have that. But, hey, John, that's a guy. He's been to victory lane this season. You can afford a little mistake. But the guys right now in third and fourth, Christian Lushin, Mike Watts, John, they haven't won a race yet this season. And they're getting at that kind of point where they're starting to lose touch of those guys in front of them. Do we maybe force the issue, or do we keep racing the track?
Keep racing the track. You're on lap 6. This thing's still got a long way to go. If you start trying to push and try to do that for, almost, 29 laps, chances are you're going to bin it somewhere around the track. So, just race the track, run your race, run your pace, and, you got to just see where you're at here, because if you do try to push for any periods of time, I just feel like you're gonna meet one of the walls around here.
And we're seeing guys kind of, race the track like you're saying. I mean, Tom Ogle up.
Contact.
Oh, yeah. No kidding. Chris Bates. Is Josh Robinson involved in that, I believe?
No, I think Josh got on the binders there, and you say, look there must be damage there for Garisco. We'll see what happens here. Oh, there's a lot of separation between the two of them.
Yeah, and look, Josh Robinson's coming out of the pit here, John.
Now watch. Bates is going to come around and not have any idea. Boom. Oh. There you go. That's a blind corner, so Chris doesn't have any idea where Robert is, and yeah, that's kind of what happens there. That's one of the downsides of Chicago.
Yeah, and then you see Chris go kind of overrun there, lucky to not get in the wall twice. But you see Andrew Kotsko on your screen. 2.5 second lead over the trash man, Daniel Hill, as Christian Lushin works around a lap car just behind them. Go back there, Ryan. I think we're side by side possibly for third. Can't tell. No, okay, sorry. My bad camera angle. You're better. Watts was looking at it on the inside. I thought he'd be able to sneak there, just didn't have the run. He is. I was watching that Bojangles machine in practice. I told Ryan how cool of a paint job that was. And while I'm riding on board with him, I noticed how smooth he is. And he's raced that thing up into fourth, almost in that final podium spot.
I know the owner of VPN.
Oh, Daniel Hill in the wall. We got man in P2. Sorry to interrupt you, John. He kissed that outside wall. Not a lot, but there's some damage on that left front. Overdrove that final left-hander, and now you see the gap to Kotska. It is up over 5 seconds now, John.
Yeah, and I was going to just say the owner of VGN loves him some Bojangles, so he'll like seeing that car. I'll probably make him hungry. Talking about Lowell Jewell, the owner here.
Victor Lane there getting out of the way, and interesting to see how durable these cars are, John. We kind of talked about the Cup race a little bit. That Catherine Leggett, I guess was her name, that shot that she had into the tires, and still looked fine. And we see that big hit for Daniel Hill, no problem, man.
Composite bodies.
So many, but they are so durable.
Yeah, it's the composite bodies, and I think Daniel actually got away with one there. So, but the thing is, he's got to be careful because of the slightest bump can actually break that front end now. So he's almost got to drive like he's on the incident limit, and can't get any more incidents up there.
And Courtney Nelson, he was just on the screen a little bit ago. He is storming up. If you remember, when he came out of off the pit road, he was right behind Luke Lane. He's now 8.5 seconds up the road from Luke Lane. So Courtney knows after that mistake, he's going to have to push the pace here, John. And he ran a 129.42 last time by. Your leader, 131.71. Courtney Nelson. He
Something must be wrong with Josh Robinson. That previous shot there, it looked like he either was pulling over to let other guys get around. But boy, he slowed way down.
Definitely, I think, it looks like he opted on going past pit road. I'm watching him now. It just looks like maybe trying to nurse this thing home, get whatever points he can. Maybe doesn't feel the most comfortable on the road course.
Yeah, we're hearing an early pit stop is what put Robinson back there towards the back here. But we're watching Koska now, and you know what? He is just the definition of smooth as butter driving around this track. I have not seen him put a tire wrong yet.
Yeah, we say that, John, but if you remember, I mentioned he was 5 seconds up the road, and then looking at his last lap time, a 132.7, so pretty slow for him. Maybe got held up by a lap car, but that lead has now fallen down, to 3.6 seconds. So even after Daniel's getting in the wall, he's trimmed it down, been able to get it back, but now we see Daniel. He was able to get around that lap car, John, I think a lot quicker, and we've mentioned it before, the first guy, or when you're the leader, the first guy to try to put your lap down, that's always the toughest. I mean, the guy doesn't have to fight you real hard, but they do need to fight a little bit, and it seems like it gets easier from there on.
Yeah, they're more inclined to try to fight to stay in that lead lap. That 100% is a thing.
See Tom Embassy in that 05 just kind of peeling out of the way there of, I believe, Tom Ogle and Jerry Isaacs. You're watching Lushin, and Mike Watts gets a little loose behind him, able to catch it. Daryl Weininger right behind him. That is third, fourth, and fifth. John, we're 9 laps into these things, and you still right there. I mean, that's 5 guys for position on your screen. Unbelievable how close they are for that final position.
It is, but for a guy like Weininger, that's a lot of points that you're sitting on. So you want to be real careful about what you're doing here. You don't want to throw points away here.
Exactly right. What do you think here? You're at the back, 2 guys. You maybe let them work on each other and see if you can pick up the pieces, I think. But if you take a look behind him, here comes Jerry Isaacs. And, Jerry, I guess, John, he's one of those guys not in for a win, but I mean, he's the high point guy. You got to think he's sitting pretty. But maybe he can be a little more aggressive, and I don't know if you want to let him rock.
He took a little bit of a hit last week. You don't really want to have 2 bad races in a row, because that's where trends, once, something happens, 2 maybe, but, once you start going beyond that, then you start talking trends. You don't want to be trending in the wrong direction as we get down to the stretch here before the playoffs, because things can turn on a dime.
And you can see that Bojangles machine got a little loose coming out of that final right-hander, and Weininger can't make the move, but you see MacArthur, making the move on it. Looked like he was nickel and diming somebody to the inside. I'm hearing it was the lap car of Tom Embassy, so not for position. These guys still, lap after lap, right in line. Seeing Andrew Kotska kind of tame the beast. He's running 131 flats out front. If I find Courtney Nelson his last time by 129.09. John, if he can make it the rest of the way on gas, would that be a story? He is putting in some lap time.
He is, and he's just got to remain patient back there, and hopefully everything will cycle through and leave him in a good spot. But these guys are, they're doing a heck of a job out there. This is not an easy track. Oh, Daniel Hill around second place. Another issue for him.
Yeah, and he's driving away here as we watch the replay to kind of see what happened. Another isolated incident, John, and it's just, man, this track, it's going to reach out and bite you. You try to drive in there a little too hard. It doesn't look like he really got any damage, I don't think, unless he gets clipped here. No, everything looks okay on that 7. We're going to lose a lot of track position.
No, he's going to eat up some of his tires. They're doing that, but kind of looked like he just had a little bit too much wheel into it in the back, lost traction. It didn't really even look like he was getting his foot back in it. He might have just been carrying a little bit too much speed through the center of the corner and kind of lost grip there. But, you know, I mean, it's a penalty, sure, but he's still in the top 10. I mean, he falls behind Tom Ogle there, and yeah, not a huge hit for him.
No, and I wonder if that was the break.
Position-wise.
That might have been the break Andrew Kotska needed, John, because as soon as he makes that mistake, he looks up in the mirror. He's not there anymore. He gets pretty comfortable. He's back in the 129s. Andrew Kotska, he is clicking him down now out front. You know, sometimes, John, you can. It's not, guys don't want to admit it, but you can get caught. You can look up in that mirror and tell me, man, it distractions. Just focus on that front windshield.
Yeah, and that leaves Kotska with almost a 10-second lead. So you know what? He just got to look out his front windshield, to your point, and make sure he's hitting his marks. He doesn't have to take any chances. He can just know where he's got to put that car and to execute. That's all he's got to do. Which I say all he's got to do, like, yeah, easy peasy. Not so much on this track. But I think Kotska, he's proven that he can do it.
Now, it's been a while since we've talked to Lushin on the podium, but he's pretty firmly here in second. He's got to be feeling good. You know, how do you race this, John? Is it, you know, and not to put him down, but we've all been in this situation where, hey, the race for the lead is over unless Andrew makes a mistake. I have to just focus on what I'm doing and hitting my marks. I mean, how do you do that?
You know, I'm not really sure how to do both like that is a lot. I'm not a great road racer, but I can tell you, the guys that can do it, it's like they're dancing in that seat. Their hands, their feet, their brain, they're all working, you know, all together. And for most guys like me, trying to get all three of those things on the same page, you know, it's kind of like herding cats. My mind's going one way, feet going the other, hands going the other. So, but he's doing a good job of it.
And then, you know, I'm not sure if you guys caught that there on the back end, but coming out of that final right-hander, Mike Watts tried to widen that wall, and he took a big shot on the left side of that thing. Everything looked straight, but it's allowed Darrell Weininger to get right up behind him. And now Darrell maybe set up a quick little over-under here, John, out of this second right-hander. He may be able to strike here and get onto that podium.
Yeah, podiums are good, especially on a track like this, because you can walk out of here feeling really good. And the fact of the matter is, when you do back-to-back road races like what we're going to have here, you go into next week knowing you just got it done on a road course. You talk about momentum. That's a great momentum builder when you're doing it 2 weeks in a row.
And that man in the 11, he is always just so sneaky fast, John. Look at him. I mean, just creeping right up. Everywhere we go, Tom Ogle's in the picture, and look at Dwayne MacArthur. That's the point leader right now, the guy with the most wins. He's trying to turn around. Watch out, Josh. Robinson gets around. Close call. Man, that could have been nasty.
Yeah, could have. Boy, I tell you, somebody just puckered. That's all I'm going to say.
As you can see him kind of loop that thing around. Just another case, you know, start to burn some fuel off. Driver's feeling a little more confident. They sling that thing in harder, and it loops around. And Josh Robinson, oh my gosh. That is not what he expected to see coming down the French stretch. He expected a beautiful view of those skyscrapers, but instead, saw that Bass Pro machine parked sideways. Made it through, and, well, you know, I haven't really been paying attention to what's been going on with Andrew Kotska. I'm going to be honest with you as we click up to him. The last time by, it didn't look that good. 132.8. Lushin has the gap down to 6 seconds. It's not a big thing there for Kotska, but I'm telling you, Lushin, if we can kind of stay here, will he get there in time? Yes, see, Lushin, that's the car up at the top. we can see him. And when you can start to see that rise in front of you, John, Lushin might find some more speed out of that number.
Yeah, you know, when you got a carrot out in front of you too, sometimes that speed just comes naturally, you know. And for me, I would just rather focus on the track. But if he's good, he can kind of watch that relative, and he'll know where on the track he's better, where he's making time up. And those are all things he can bank. So if he does catch Koska, maybe he can formulate a plan to get around him.
Yeah, and I mean, he's opened up that gap to Watts by a little over 2 seconds now, so he's definitely feeling a little more comfortable inside the race car, and we're going to have to keep an eye out on that number as the race rolls on. But now, you know, we start to get into that interesting time, I think, John. 21 to go. This is maybe where some guys are stuck in traffic. You maybe start to think about short pitting, as I can't tell who's in the wall there, but we got somebody. It's Crisco. Robert Borisco, and it didn't look like he was moving, John. He may need to tow that thing.
Boy, that's a bad break. That means he hit something pretty hard if he can't. I mean, I'm wondering if the way he might have been stuck in the wall, but.
It just maybe broke the rear toe link. Didn't feel comfortable driving it. I couldn't tell why he wouldn't pull away, but my man said in my ear, it really didn't look that bad, but you know, funky stuff can happen, and it is maybe happening now because Lushin is still reeling him in. The gap now down in that 5-second range. That 3 car is a-coming. He is chugging along, and we may see a battle here for the lead before this thing's over, especially, I hate to keep me in that broken record, the pit stops, man. If you can nail this pit stop, that could really change.
Well, these guys are navigating. I mean, there's still, you know, almost, you know, somewhere around 20 laps to go here. And, you know, I honestly, you know, I should have looked at how the range of fuel that you can get here. I'm not 100% sure on it. But, you know, pit stops as close as these guys are going, Zach. You touched on it earlier about underpitting and things like that. These guys, the way they are sliding around, I would have to think there is some tire wear getting put in there. So, you know, if you got fresh tires and able to go maybe a half a second lap faster, when you're only, you know, 2/10 behind somebody, that half a second, guess what? You make that, you leapfrog them just by pitting. So we'll have to see how this kind of plays out here with under 20 laps to go now.
Yeah, and I know in the Cup race today, I mean, drivers really wanted that extra rubber. So I would imagine in this new tire model, guys slipping and sliding the way they have, they'd probably love to get it, but you're going to have to punch some numbers in the calculator and see if it's worth the time loss, because I would imagine, you know, if we even do have to pit, you're not going to need a full tank here to go the rest of the way. You should be okay with just about a half a tank or so, but Andrew Kotska still your leader, Christian Lushin third, Michael Watts hanging on in fourth. Let's try to highlight some hard charges here. We got 2 guys up 9 spots. James Hislop, the guy who won last time, he's hanging out in 11th, right outside of that top 10. He was in 10th, but the man who made a mistake earlier, Courtney Nelson, got him back a couple laps ago. Luke Lane, your last driver on the lead lap, he's also up 9 spots, up to 15th. And how far behind, as you see, Andrew Kotska, not that far behind Luke, so might not be long till Luke bites the dust here, but still a pretty good run for that 21 machine. And at the end of the day, John, come out of these road courses top 15, so I think he'll be okay with it.
Well, I do too. He's had a rough last few weeks here, so it rights the ship for sure. And you know, that battle, you know, for that final playoff spot, you know, points-wise, boy, it's a doozy and it's tight. So this is one of those where every single point, I think, is going to count, and you know, that's going to decide who's in and who's out.
Lushin with a bit of a hiccup last time around, ran a 1:33, 3 seconds off the pace of your leader. So we've seen that lead really opened back up, and now we're looking at Victor Lane sideways in that turn 1 wall. Man, turn 1 has been absolutely biting people, John. It wasn't only you out there in test track.
Yeah, I mean, it was the rest of the laps were fairly easy, at least to me, except for turn 1. You know, you have to lift really early on that straightaway, and you got to lift way earlier than what you feel like you should be lifting. And I don't know why. If you try to break deep on there, it just, boy, that car is hard to whoa up at that point.
Alan Wanamaker, I think he smelled that. He gets way to the outside. He says, go ahead, Courtney. You can have this thing. I'll try to follow you for as long as you can. Courtney Nelson picking off another one, and have to see if he's got enough fuel here to make it the rest of the way, or if even guys have to pit it all. Not too sure what to expect here. Chicago street course, but I do expect, barring a mistake here from Andrew Kotska, man, he is looking to bring this one home. But we do have a guy coming down pit road here, Ryan, the trash man, Daniel Hill. I would imagine this is a scheduled stop, John. Car looks okay, and we're in the pit window.
Yeah, that might be, but keep in mind he's also had some contact throughout the race, so you know that could also play into if you've knocked something out of alignment there, you can increase your tire limit. So you know what, his tires may have just fallen off to where the car doesn't turn. The one thing about iRacing is in the tire model, once the tires go, you can come to a stop and still not make the corner. You know, it's tough to say there, but yeah, if that's opening a pit road. Oh, you know, he's going to have to see where this thing cycles out here.
You see the boss man, Victor Lane, loses it once again here in turn 1, John. That's 2 laps in a row and bit him. And man, the boss man, he's not going to wait here. He can't wait to fly out to California here. We're watching Tom Ogle try to get back to the rear end of that 51 of Jerry Isaacs.
At least out there, if you have a night like that, you can go find wine pretty easily out there.
Yeah, definitely plenty of stuff to do out there in the vineyards. That is one road course, just because, well, John, you know, we were talking about, I love the elevation changes. That would be a road course that you could probably get me to if the right people.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of really cool things happen out there at Sonoma, too. I mean, not just the Cup thing, but Indy cars out there. And there's a lot of retro races out there, and club events and things like that. It's a pretty nice track. It definitely beats the other track that's out there, that Laguna Seca. Opinions vary on that one, but Sonoma is my favorite of the two for sure.
Not too sure when it happened, but I noticed now Daryl Weininger, he moved up into P3. He was able to get around Mike Watts. I assume Watts maybe made a little bit of a mistake. I'm hearing Watts got loose and Daryl Weininger got around, and now he's kind of losing touch here with the 15 of Weininger. You know, sometimes you start over driving that thing when the guy gets around you, and that may be what we're seeing with Watts. So, John, what do you do, man? You just got to let the car settle down, right? Let it come back to you?
Yeah.
Now, Weininger, he's stuck with lap traffic.
Yeah, I was going to say, after you do something that might make the tires upset, you do got to give the car a couple laps to get it back under you and get the tires a little less angry.
See there, I think that was Mark Fish getting out of the way, but Weininger caught him at a rough time. And that allowed Watts to get right back Lushin about 2 seconds up the road from them, and then almost 8 seconds up the road is your leader, as we're watching Courtney Nelson barrel through, knocking them off one by one. Got around Andrew Medlin. He's up to P7. Let's see. When I'm looking at the relative here, you'll see it when he comes across. About 38 seconds off your leader. You got to think, John, man, if by some Hanukkah miracle he's got enough, oil left to keep burning that motor, I mean, he may be able to bring it home 38 seconds. That's doable with the pit road loss time.
Well, he'll still probably be a little bit short. I think pit road on and off and pit stops, if it's as to the real world counterparts, you're on the pit road for about 30 seconds, 28 to 30 seconds for a pit stop on and off pit road. So it'll be really close. So if he continues knocking down laps and closing that gap, it'll be real interesting if those other guys have to pit.
And the next person for position for Courtney Nelson is 24 seconds up the road, Mr. Tom Ogle. So long way to go to get up there as we watch. We click over to Tom there. He's running behind that 51 of Isaacs. They have just been, those two have been, he has been glued to the bumper of that 51, I think, since the green flag drop. Just been following Isaacs through the field.
Yeah, and once again, Jerry's just steady. I mean, you know, it's just the guy is top 5, around the top 5, week in and week out. He's got to be the most consistent driver in the field. I mean, by far.
Mark Martin. That's who he reminds me of.
Exactly right.
Oh, and then we jinx him. He gets a little loose, and now Tom Ogle gets around. Oh, man.
All right, when Jerry watches this, in case he does, Jerry, that's Zach's fault. He's the one that jinxed you.
He's right. I'm sorry, Jerry. Plenty of time here to go back at it. He may have to use a little pit strategy in his favor to get around. And, you know, we saw Daniel Hill pit. Anxious to see how much longer these guys stay out. It's going to be itching, you know. I mean, if you're stuck in line, I think now's the time to maybe do that. But really, John, as I pan around through the field, the guys are starting to get really spread out. I mean, you expect to get to that point when we stay green flag through a road course, and it is really at that point now where you're racing the track more than anything around you. You just got to try to stay in the zone.
Yeah, and that's the racing the track. I mean, that's you've heard me kind of say this over and over and over again. I mean, I don't think that ever loses the first importance that you've got to do here. As soon as you try to take more than the track wants to give you, we've seen it over and over again also today that guys just get into trouble. This track, you've got to just be on it and hit your marks.
Let's see. So we're going to hit marks here. I mean, that's really the top 3. They were so close. They're spread out now. You're looking at Mike Moss. Back to him about the same gap that Tom Ogle. And Jerry Isaacs and Tom Ogle, I believe, closest battle on the track for position, maybe. Yeah, because Andrew Medlin, he's losing touch with Courtney Nelson. Hislop is kind of chomping at the bit here to get at Wanamaker. That 92 getting pretty close to the back of that 74. Hislop, you know, we talked about, won his first race of the season last week. He's in the playoffs, but that man in front of him, he is 10 points to the bad. And you got to think, if you told Alan this morning, hey, man, you're going to be running 9th with about 13 laps to go, I think he'd be pretty satisfied with that. I mean, he's still got to be smooth to bring it home, but this is a pretty good run there for that 70.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, laps are starting to wind down here. I think we're past halfway. So, you know, we haven't had a lot of guys pit road. Usually I would think you'd see guys try to split this in half or pretty close to half. So I'm starting to wonder if guys can maybe go the whole way.
That's what I really am kind of thinking that too, John. That's kind of why I've been phrasing it that way. It seems like, you know, I mean, those guys that were stuck in traffic earlier maybe would have pit if they had to when we were kind of close to racing. Advised against it. We've only seen people go down pit road that, you know, you mentioned. Daniel Hill, was it that bad? No, but he did use a quick repair. He had been involved. You see Luke Lane there. Not sure if he's got damage on that 21. It looks to be bouncing a little bit, but he was involved in some type of spin there. I don't know if we're going to get a replay of that. If we have one, looks like we do. And he's going to be coming up here to the horse statues. A little quick right, just loses it there. And the Napa machine able to get on the brakes. That could have been bad, but good job there by Luke. That he could have gotten a lot of damage, John. That's a tough place to sit.
Yeah, and getting on your brakes like that too without Luke in your car, just jumping on the brakes hard with these cars. Usually you back that car around. So nice job for everybody there.
So watch the leader go by pit road one more time. We come to 11 laps to go. James Hislop trying to reel in Alan Wanamaker. You can see him really close in there under braking. But Alan with a good job. You can see there, John, the difference. Alan clearly in the throttle quicker than James. James is trying to gain it on corner entry. Alan gaining it on exit.
Yeah, and that's a sign of just two different strategies and how you drive. One guy will want to attack the corner a little bit, one other guy will want to back the corner up a bit and do the in like a lamb, out like a lion. Sounds like one's doing that, and the other one's in like a lion, out like a lamb kind of thing.
Yeah, and you can see, maybe that'll work for his lap now as we come to the longer straightaways. He can make up for it with draft. But, man, it's going to be tough to hold off Alan if Alan comes back with a big run off the corner with some draft. Have to see not close enough to make the move this time. But he is starting to get close that Alan's got to start thinking about maybe driving a little defensive. And that's when you've kind of started to win the battle.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting down to it here. So, the defensive driving, the give and take, I've heard before too long that's probably going to start to go out the window, and people are going to get defensive about holding on to their spots, which they should do. I mean, the race is getting towards the end, towards the twilight, pay windows open. You make guys earn it at that point. That's okay.
Not too sure what happened with Lushin either here, but he had a big slip up, and all of a sudden, Daryl Weininger is in that back pocket. They're stuck behind a lap car right now, going to get around going down the front stretch here. But with 10 laps to go, Daryl Weininger's right there. It's playtime. He can go get P2. He's just got to be smooth here, but good 1 and 2. Maybe closes in on Lushin a little bit more. And, man, one more mistake from that 3, and he might lose P2. He gets a little sideways, but he catches it. Oh, boy, John, I think they're feeling that tire loss.
Yeah, and the weird thing is it could be rear tire loss, what I've seen just even from almost the start of the race. Guys their back ends are coming around or getting loose on corner exit. These cars have so much power that you just don't stand on the throttle, and if you stand on the throttle too quick, that's where you see the back end get happy, and I've seen a lot of people doing that, but that's also creating more tire wear along those rear tires than it does the front.
Yeah, I think, John, that's where us dirt boys have that advantage. You know what I mean? You got to drive like there's an egg under that throttle pedal. You just can't stomp that thing.
Where we lose that advantage is on corner entry. We're not used to slowing down and stopping.
Daniel Hill just got around Alan Wanamaker to move himself inside the top 10. Remember, Daniel made that pit stop. He's got fresher tires. So
and had an incident. And had an incident, too, so... He's had an adventurous day.
Yes, he has. If these other guys do have to indeed come down pit road, he may pick a couple more off. See, I think Crisco here, think about dipping to the inside of Josh Robinson. Couldn't do it. Josh just going to drive off into the sunset here. And Daniel Hill, I started talking good about him, John. Made him wreck. I apologize, Daniel. Check out what happened here. This is probably one of the fastest parts of the racetrack. Just overshot it late on the brakes, hard into the outside wall. You see, didn't really turn away. He knows he already used the quick repair. I imagine we'll probably see Dan
at the end of those long straightaways or whatever. If you overshoot the corner and corner entry and you haven't lifted, you're just stuck because if you hit the brakes, you go nose first into the wall. The car doesn't turn. If you lift, the car doesn't turn either. So if you miss it, you're helpless. You're a passenger more times than not here.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at that. I've practiced wrecking a lot, and I think that's where you almost just gotta, when you commit, whip it in there, maybe bounce it off the tires to wreck as little as you can. It stinks when you practice wrecking, but sometimes it's a skill you develop over time.
So your new nickname, it's not Shaggy anymore, it's VGN's Crash Test Dummy? Is that what you're trying to claim?
There's a decent chance that I could hold that title. Now Lushin able to get around the lap car here, but Weininger is still right there, and we're seeing him come down to 8 laps to go. So there is not a lot of time left. Weininger, he did a pretty good job there, John, because he caught that lap car at a tough time. You can see Lushin diamond into corner entry. he was kind of stuck on the bottom, but didn't really lose too much. You can see he did lose some time.
Yeah, I mean, I know it doesn't sound, being under 10 laps, though. I mean, this track is much longer than what it looks like. It takes a little bit to get around here. So if you're going to try stuff, you don't want to wait to the last lap. You want to try something. If it works, okay, that didn't work. All right, we'll have to try something else. You want to give yourself as many opportunities as you can to get that spot. So, waiting, like what we see on the ovals, usually it's like, okay, all right, I know I'm going to draft, slingshot. You wait to that last lap. But road racing, I think, is a little different. You gotta try to get them. Once we start getting within 10 laps, you gotta start pushing different ways and trying to figure out a way around.
Yeah, especially because if those two mix it up too much, that yellow car and Mike Watts not too far back there in fourth. So you're whining, or you gotta find your spot, make your move when you can, because if Lushin drives too defensive for too long, you're gonna have somebody else there battling for the podium with you.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, whoever's the meat in that sandwich, that's awful when you've got to try to attack and play defense at the same time on a road course. That is hard.
7 laps to go for the gang here. They're about 8.5 seconds off of your leader, who is just showing absolute dominance, John. It's been a while since Kotska has been on the racetrack. I want to say maybe 2 or 3 weeks. But, man, back in style. He made a name for himself this season at COTA. He started in the back with that 3-digit number, raced his way up to the podium, and yeah, he just looks like he's at home on these road courses.
Yeah, he definitely looks like a road course winner. So he's, I'm sure, being locked into the chase. I think he's locked into the chase here, seeing he has a win. But there's that Roval. I do believe there's a road course somewhere in that chase.
Yeah, we have the Charlotte Roval, I think, with 4 races to go on the schedule. And the thing about Kotska is, too, John, we were talking about SVG earlier, getting up those points to kind of cushion himself. Kotska brings this thing home. That's win number 4 on the season. So if he could get himself to Charlotte, man, oh man, it is he's going to be looking good here come playoff.
Yeah, and and it's not like he's a road course, ace, and has a hard time in other places. Kotska's competitive everywhere, so. But having that in the back pocket, knowing you can go there and definitely get a win, that puts a lot of pressure, to be honest with you, on the driver. You've got to have a good race. That means.
And Mike Watts clipped the inside wall there, drove the rear end around, and he lost 2 spots. Tom Ogle and I believe Jerry Isaacs got around as well. 4th to 6th. Could have been much worse for Mike Watts. And still is on the back now of Isaacs, so has a little bit of time to get that back, but not a lot of time. 6 laps to go. And Andrew Kotska, he is out there. He went down the long backstretch. He made his first left-hand turn. He is in his own area code. Here comes P2, Lushin. They are back there, and he may put a couple more a lap down before this thing's over here, John.
Yeah, he's on a mission here, and Zach on dirt, we run without mirrors a lot of the time, and but you still got the relative, so he knows he's got a good cushion. But people are probably wondering, well, gosh, why doesn't he slow down, take it easy? Because he's still clipping laps off. But what's funny is I talked about dancing, how they're dancing on their pedals and their hands, and there's a rhythm. If you get off rhythm, a lot of times that's when you end up in the wall. So that's probably why you don't see him like backing it down too much.
I almost would equate it to music in that aspect, where I think it's a little easier to.
It is music.
Yeah,
that engine plays you a song.
Yeah, and it's easier to kind of keep a faster beat, I think. You just keep to the rhythm like you were saying. It's one thing to speed it up a little bit. You can amp yourself up, but slowing it down, just taking yourself out of that rhythm, man, that's absolutely everything. And once a driver does that, they're in deep trouble. That's why you hear, I think, the guys in F1 complain about you need car reliability. If you can't drive the same all the time and expect the same result out of the car, what do you want out of it?
Yeah, a car that's consistent is what you want. You don't want one that'll surprise you. You know, because if you do your job, you're theoretically going to hit the same marks, do the same things lap after lap with some consistency. But yeah, like I said, that's if folks out there wondering why he's got this big lead, he could just coast. But you know, it's not that easy to get out of that rhythm. And man, I tell you that can really, really hurt a driver and cause them to make a mistake.
Well, you got to think here, John. After this right-hander, we're coming to 4 laps to go. I would assume these guys are good on fuel. I mean,
Yeah,
they probably saved enough here to bring it home, and that is impressive in itself. Here is still able to put down fast lap times, but make sure you can bring that thing home. It was nice to dangle that quick repair for the guys, but at the same time, John slapped in the face. Hey, we could go on.
Yeah, well, there's quite a few of them that have taken the fast repair, taking advantage of having that here this week. And by the way, that'll be here next week too. So something unique OBRL does for the road courses to help guys out.
As Lushin works around the high point man, current win leader Dwayne MacArthur. Dwayne had a spin or two here tonight, but able to keep it straight for the most part here in the final goings. But Lushin, man, he has had an up and down here. Oh, I think I heard someone crashing out. Josh Robinson popping up on our screen. Let's see what happened. This is turn 2. Just gets loose here. Spins it out. Doesn't look like he got any damage, but in an awkward spot, John. Just easier to tow. I think Josh knows he's got enough points. He can take the rest of the night off.
Call it a day here, because Josh has had one of those folks that have had an adventurous day. We've seen him find trouble at a couple, 2, 3 different spots, and you know what? Sometimes when it's just not your day, packing her up and moving on is usually, or sometimes maybe even the best way.
3 fingers in the air, 3 laps to go this time by for Andrew Kotsko, who's seen that lead kind of hover around that 6-second mark. He'll give up a second or two, then he'll get 2 back. I think it's got a lot to do with lap traffic. Andrew, man, just so smooth. I'm not sure we might end up having on Tom Ogle. He must have made a mistake. Never mind that last lap. It's a little slow in the 132s. He was reeling in Daryl Weininger. But right now, it seems like, John, if the race keeps this pace, you don't make a mistake, I would say our top 3 pretty much set here. It's about a 5-6 second gap in between your top 4 guys.
Yeah, but key words in there is not make a mistake. We've seen guys up front. I mean, Dan Hill, I'm not picking on him, but it's a great example. Dan Hill's a really good driver, and he's been caught out a couple of times. So I think Mike Watts is another one that's looked really solid, has had a couple of problems here and there. So, yeah, I'm going to say this one's not over until it's over.
And the man right behind him, Courtney Nelson, he's trying to get around Mike Watts right now. Thinking about maybe a bluff to the outside here. Maybe going to cut underneath. Not enough room. Courtney going to fall in line. Courtney clearly has some pace. Man, arguably could be out front if not for the spin. Where do you make the pass here, John? How do you set him up? I mean, he is fighting to try to get around.
You got to try to outbreak him somewhere, and that's always dicey in this car with a rough track, worn out tires, and missing your marks by 20 feet can cause disasters. So you got to be careful where you do it.
Tom Embassy with a wonderful job there, getting out of the way, really slowing down, letting them both have that racing line. There's contact. He drives in a little deep, gets in the back of Watts. Watts going to go around. Courtney doing the right thing here, John. Going to come to a stop, let him straighten out. I think that's a little self-penalty, and I respect the heck out of Courtney for that. That's not how you want to get it done over here.
Well, and I just got done saying, you know what, 10 feet, you're in trouble, and that's exactly what just happened.
Guys going for broke, trying to get those last couple spots. And Courtney knows a little bit naughty there, so he comes to a stop. At the end of the day, I don't think Mike was going to get close enough there to Jerry Isaacs. But hopefully, all is good there. I know, John, they're firm on the penalties, so he's probably going to get a penalty for that. But, man, you got to tip your cap when they pull over. As the white flag's out, 1 lap to go here at the street course.
And not too far to go now. He's just got it. And I'm sure he's looked at his relative now. I'll bet you this lap time, I won't be a bit surprised if this is the slowest lap he runs all day.
He goes through turn 2. We've seen so many drivers slip up through there. He's going to go into turn 3 here. Don't want to be too hard on the brakes, going over the bumps. Just be smooth. Drive it into 4 and really set yourself up nice here coming off of 5. Float up to the outside wall, carry enough speed, and Andrew Kotska, just smooth as silk.
Yeah, the last real difficult place is going to be up in front of the Embassy hotel here, and it's kind of like it's almost like a big sweeping roundabout. A little bit of elevation change over bridges and stuff like that, and that's also really, really tight. So he gets through there, he's going to be golden.
Makes the right-hander. He comes into where John was talking about here. See that bridge right to the outside. You see the bumps. He settles it down. Not going to get too aggressive. Don't want to outbrake yourself here. This is where Daniel Hill got himself in trouble. It's easy to get in trouble there. He's got 1 more corner left. As he gets on the brakes nice and smooth, Andrew Kotska gonna drive it down the front stretch for the final time. Welcome back to victory lane. Andrew Kotska does it again after a long hiatus. Christian Lushin bringing home 2nd. Daryl Weininger looking like he's gonna round out 3rd here as he comes to the line. We'll go find Tom Ogle. Is Tom Ogle coming across the line right behind him? We got Jerry Isaacs. And that's your top 5. Michael Watts. Still a little ways back there, nursing it around. Here he comes. Oh, I'm not too sure there what kind of... So this is an interesting one. Michael Watts there coming across 6th. But now when we look back at 7th here, guys. Andrew Medlin in 7th. So not sure if Courtney Nelson maybe penalized himself further. Okay, I'm hearing he pulled off after that last incident, so he must have felt a little bad about that. Going to sacrifice some spots. So Medlin coming home 7th. His lap picks up another spot that's going to move him up to 8th. And Alan Wanamaker, here he comes down the front stretch. Another top 10 for Alan Wanamaker, back-to-back leads 7-4. And I believe Courtney Nelson. He's behind your leader, though, Ryan. So I'm not sure. Did he finish a lap now? Okay, so he's just going slow this last lap. Because if you notice here coming, that's Andrew Kotska. So he's running behind the leader. Andrew may have just lapped him to have a little fun with him. Now he's going to pull it off into pit road.
I'm wondering if, way back in the day, Mark Martin pulled off a lap early, but he was leading at Bristol. Maybe that happened where he just kind of pulled it aside before he realized what lap it was.
Well, at least he drove the full length of pit road here, so it'll mark him official. Sure. Maybe lose a spot or 2, but hey, you see this top 3 pulling up to the line. We're going to give them a minute or 2 here to catch their breath, grab a drink. We'll be right back with your full rundown and interviews with your top 3. Stick around. We are back live on the Virtual Grip Network, and we just saw 35 laps of non-stop action here at the Chicago Street Course in Andrew Kotska. And oh man, what a return after a couple weeks off. Gonna park it on the top step of Victory Lane. Let's go ahead, let's take a look at the full rundown. You see Andrew Kotska, top dog. He beats Christian Lushin tonight by about 5.5 seconds. Daryl Weininger third. Tom Ogle fourth. Jerry Isaacs rounds out the top five. Michael Watts sixth. Andrew Medlin seventh. James Hislop eighth. Alan Wanamaker ninth. And after a rough opener there, Courtney Nelson nurses it back inside the top 10. John?
Coming home 11th is Dwayne MacArthur, followed by Roger Hurley, Greg Hammond. Luke Lane comes home 14th. Torrance Childs 15th. Nicholas Self come home 17th, followed by Victor Lane, Josh Robinson, Tommy Amassi, and rounding out your top 20 is Patrick Martindale.
Robert Gorisco, a.k.a. Crisco, coming home in the blackjack position. Daniel Hill 22nd. Mark Fish 23rd. Chris Bates 24th. Sean Foltz 25th. In the Lipper, Chris Hazlip never made the start, but he's going to round out the field. And now it's time to get a word here with our third place finisher, Daryl Weininger. Daryl, Shaggy up in the booth, man. You got a copy?
I do. You guys hear me?
Yes, sir. Long race. And I'll tell you, I wasn't too sure. I watched the Cup race today, but I couldn't really remember. When you got in that race car today, did you know you'd be able to go on one tank of gas?
Yeah, I think so. I ran a lot with the AI over the last few weeks, and I was pretty. Although I never finished a race, whoever put that AI pack together did a real good job of making Ricky Stinghouse's aggressiveness and his lack of talent on road courses. So he and I tangled a lot in AI. But yeah, I felt like we had enough gas.
It's so funny you bring up the AI. Our director here, Ryan Seneca, was just talking before the show how much he loves those AI races and how he uses them to really learn the racetrack. So you think maybe that was an advantage for you here? You know, doing all that practice, it seemed like you were really smooth, man. Not many mistakes.
Yeah, trying to figure out where to pass without making people mad. I kind of knew where I could make some passes. I think I was better on the brakes than a lot of people, but I was worse getting out of the corners. So Watts and Christian, they were really good getting out of the corners. I got to work on that.
Well, hey, man, at the end of the day, you roll into a road course, you're bringing home a podium. I think you'd be pretty pumped with that. And we got one more coming up next week, man. So when we roll into Sonoma, can you take this momentum? Can we get another podium next week?
I probably won't be there. I got my daughter's last softball tournament next Sunday. So hopefully we're over in Ohio, and hopefully we miss this one. But I'll be back on the track in the next few weeks.
Well, hey, man, tell her we're rooting for. We hope they win. Good luck at the tournament, and congratulations on the P3, Daryl. Can't wait to talk to you again, my man.
Thanks, man. Thanks, guys.
Daryl Weininger bringing home P3. Now, John, I think you got the man brought home P2. Who you got?
Well, I tell you what, after a long time out on that track and making all those right and left turns, I've got second place here, Christian Lush. And Christian, I tell you, tough track, man. How did you handle it today?
Oh, to keep it as a one-stopper, no stopper, I kind of was lifting the coast in early, and I saved my tires for a good chunk of it, which really helped a bunch. So being able to keep the tires under it really helped, and able not to keep it from spinning and all that. So it was a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoy it here.
What was the toughest part about this track? Because I know I saw a lot of guys struggle, and I didn't even see them struggle at one particular point. I saw several different areas in there. So what to you was the biggest thing about getting your arms wrapped around this place?
It's just being able to have the fortitude to just send it in certain corners, like going into the fountain carousel, being able to just know that you're going to put the car in the right spot every time, because to be quick through that, you really have to chuck it in there and hope it sticks.
Well, I tell you what, man, it was fun to watch here. Are you going to come back and run Sonoma next week?
I should be able to. Work looks like it should allow me to. There's just, with my work schedule, it's tough to make every race.
Well, we look forward to seeing you next week, and I got to guess you're probably going to be up front again.
We'll see.
Anybody want to give a quick shout out to before we let you go?
Not really a whole lot tonight. Just want to thank everyone thanks for Victor to holding the race league open and all that, and allowing me to race up here. So I greatly appreciate all that.
Well, awesome, bud. Well, hopefully we see you next week, and best of luck when you get to Sonoma.
Yep.
That's Christian Lushin. He's our second place finisher, and Zach, I think you caught up with our winner.
Yeah, Andrew Kotska, man, it's been a while. You took a couple weeks off, but you didn't forget where Victory Lane is. Welcome back, brother.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, it's been a few weeks off here. Glad I can get back in Victory Lane at probably one of my favorite tracks on the schedule here.
Oh, man, I knew you kind of cemented a name for yourself with that run at Coda back in the 3-digit number days, starting in the back, racing your way up to third. I mean, what's it feel like to be able to, actually qualify at one of these things and start where you qualify?
Yeah, that's the greatest thing, especially at a track like this where it's so hard to try to make classes. I know those guys, they had a pretty intense battle for second place at one point with 5 or 6 guys, and it looked like nobody was able to get around each other. So, yeah, it's great to get that position on the track position here to be able to hold that throughout the race. Makes it much easier to get through that race.
I mean, obviously, you're not necessarily wishing it on them, but you're racing the track. But when you take a look at that relative and you notice Courtney Nelson spins out, Daniel Hill spins out, I mean, are you starting to feel more confident here as the race goes on? And at what point did you know, hey, I don't have to pit for fuel?
Yeah, I think the whole race, it was just more just trying to race the track itself. I know I think it was lap 25, I overshot turn 7 and bent my toe on the left front as well too. So even though both those guys got some damage here this race, I knew it was going to be a struggle to get it the whole way through. And for fuel, I knew from the beginning of the race I was going to be able to make it no problem. I think I lifted once or twice into a couple corners to save just a little bit of gas, and I think that just gave me enough gas to do my burnout at the end of the race, really.
Well, hey, man, like I say, you take a couple weeks off, you find yourself right back in Victory Lane, man. Congratulations on another good run. Before I let you do your thank yous and get out of here, we're feeling good, man. Another road course next week. We're going to Sonoma. Are you confident?
I don't know. I know Courtney's pretty fast at Sonoma as well, too, and so is Dan. It's probably one of my weaker road courses, so I'm hoping for a good finish. I don't know if I'll get a win next week, but definitely try to get a podium next week.
Well, hey, man, congratulations on the win. Who you want to thank before we kick you out of here?
Yeah, obviously I want to thank you guys here in the booth. You guys do an excellent job every single week with your broadcasts. Even when I wasn't racing, I made sure to check in on those during the week just to see what was going on. Also, a shout out to the entire OBRL team here, at the drivers, admins. Absolutely amazing racing experience in this league. Some of the best and cleanest racers you'll find on iRacing, and shout out to all friends and family out there watching the broadcast as well, too.
Well, hey, man, we'll see you in California. Load up. Good luck next week.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Andrew Kotska finding Victory Lane here for the 4th time this season. That'll move him up to P2 in points all by himself. And, John, we came into Chicago, expected a little bit of shenanigans, and, man, we got it. Some 2 guys made mistakes, and we got one of those awkward podiums again. I mean, no offense to the boys, but this isn't a common podium. It was a good race.
Predictable racing is fun, and when you've got outcomes that are, not really predetermined, as much as I hate to say that, those are the best races to watch. You can just watch, and you never know who's going to end up front, and it makes it intriguing to watch right up to the end.
Well, we got a bunch of intriguing stuff to watch here on the Virtual Grip Network coming up this week, as we got the podcast coming out Tuesday. Quick Shift. Okay, that's a neat title. What are we talking about, John?
Well, actually, this week being holiday weekend, which we hope everybody had a great 4th of July out there, but we are going to take the week off and hopefully give everybody the opportunity to go back and watch their favorite podcast that's been to date in the past year, and then we'll be back the following week. Yeah, but the podcast will come out. We'll have the recap and all that. But as far as having a guest, we're not going to have a guest this week. It'll just be a straight recap of the races.
Well, look forward to seeing that. Make sure you look at that when it comes out, VGN Weekly on Tuesday next week. You heard us talk with the boys. We'll be at Sonoma. John, lots of hills. Oh, man, we get lots of dirt on the track up there, too. Somebody gets an off track in front of you. It is going to be another wild card weekend.
100%. I can't wait to go there. These guys will handle it and put on a heck of a show, I'm sure.
Well, we want to thank you all for tuning in this long. What a great show it was here at the Chicago Street Course, and it's all thanks to the gang here at the OBRL YesterYear Racing Cup Series. Always put on a good one. And on behalf of my partner, John Hine, Ryan Seneker, we'd like to thank you all for tuning in this long, and have a good night.